This isn't really a full step-by-step tutorial for the build of this L-shaped standing desk from Bestier. This is more of just some things that helped me during the build and a couple of things that got confusing along the way. One thing I immediately appreciated was how clearly everything was labeled. All the hardware packages match the letters in the manual, which makes the setup process way less frustrating. One thing I like to do with these builds is to keep a trash bag nearby. As I unpack pieces, I throw everything straight into the bag so cleanup is basically done by the time the desk is finished. One thing this desk does differently, and I really like this, is that they start with the drawers first. Most furniture builds save the drawers for last, which usually ends up being the most tedious part after you've already spent hours building everything else. Getting that part out of the way early honestly made the whole process feel smoother. If you've never built one of these desks before, the hardware is actually pretty straightforward once you see how it works. The wooden pegs help line everything up and hold the pieces in place while you tighten the locking hardware. And the nice thing about this setup is the instructions are pretty clear about which hardware matches each section. For example, this part of the drawer is labeled with a DR indicating which side of the drawer this piece attaches to in relation to the handle of the drawer and the wheel on the rail itself. That brings me to the rail system. Part of the sliding hardware is already installed on the desk panels, which removes a lot of the guesswork when lining everything up. A lot of furniture builds leave all the rails disconnected, and that can get confusing really fast. One little detail I liked was that the file rails inside the drawers can still be adjusted after everything is assembled. Some desks make you partially disassemble the drawer just to reposition these pieces, but these just slide right into place. The drawers themselves went together pretty smoothly too. As I got into the hydraulic lift portion of the build, this is where things became a little bit more confusing. If you're building the desk in the opposite orientation from the manual, don't follow the instructions exactly step by step. Use them more as a guide. The biggest thing is just paying attention to which side the hydraulic pieces are mounted on and then reversing it in your setup. It's not necessarily difficult, it just takes a little problem solving. The other confusing part is that the hydraulic sections don't really come apart the same way the manual shows. So instead of fully assembling everything separately first, I found it easier to loosely attach the pieces, set the desktop in place, and then tighten everything down once it was lined up correctly. That ended up working much better for me. One of my favorite parts of this entire build was actually the included Allen wrench. I've honestly never seen one design quite like this before. Granted, I'm no Mr. Fix-It, but I do a good amount of DIY around the house. The head pivots so you can tighten screws at an angle instead of getting stuck in tight places like most Allen keys do. It made a huge difference during assembly, especially around the hydraulic sections. Definitely one tool I actually wish I would have kept afterward. Once everything was tightened down, the desk came together really nicely. The full build took me about 5.5 hours, including a short break. I built similar furniture before, so some of this was familiar to me already, but I could definitely see how the hydraulic section might slow people down. I've seen other people mention taking closer to 8 or 9 hours for this build, which is totally understandable, especially if you are by yourself. Once everything was finished though, the desk turned out great. The standing function feels smooth, the workspace is really nice, and overall it feels solid once fully assembled. My monitors are about 24 inches each, and the two of them I think are a little bit heavy on the desk, but it still works. One thing I did notice is that this desk is definitely designed to sit against a wall. backside is exposed, you end up seeing quite a few cables and hardware pieces underneath. That's what led me to working on some cable management for the setup. I added these 2-inch cable grommets from Amazon so I could route the monitor and desk cables more cleanly through the surface. They actually lock into the desk much more securely than I expected. If you decide to drill holes for cable management like this, definitely go slow. One side of the wood stayed pretty clean, but the opposite side chipped quite a bit where the drill bit exited. Not a huge deal for me since it's underneath and mostly hidden, but slowing down probably would have cleaned that up a bit. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how this setup turned out. The cable management still needs a little bit more cleanup, but I'll have another video coming soon that goes into more detail on the cable management itself. Thanks for watching!